One other thing I just want to acknowledge, obviously with the 20th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks coming up, and the Mets playing, of course, the Yankees that weekend. We all know how important baseball was to our recovery and trying to move forward. You never move past it, but you try to move forward. One of the great foundations that was set up was the Tunnel to Towers Foundation, and their CEO, Frank Siller, is going on a 500-mile walk, Evan, around the country to try to raise money and make sure no one forgets, that kind of thing. And as we now get a couple days away from 9/11, we're privileged to have Frank on the phone with us right now very quickly, mid-walk, as he finishes his 500-mile journey through six states over the course of the last 6 weeks to honor the fallen from 9/11. Frank, it's Craig Carton and Evan Roberts on WFAN here in New York City. How are you today, sir?
I am fantastic, Craig. Yeah, and I am coming on the final couple of days of my 537-mile Never Forget walk. I started August 1st. At the Pentagon. I walked to Shanksville August 21st, laid a wreath there, said a prayer like I did at the Pentagon.
Right.
And now I was heading back to New York, so I'm only a couple of days away from being at Ground Zero. And then retracing my brother's final heroic footsteps where he ran through the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel 20 years ago and gave his life while saving others.
Yeah, I have chills, hearing you speak. And I've done some work with the foundation over the years, and it's just amazing what you guys do, not just in Stephen's honor, but in the honor of all the men and women who passed away on 9/11. I wanted you to come on today because, Derek Jeter gets into the Hall of Fame today. And at its core, baseball's meaningless compared to the loss of life, but it meant so much to New York. The Piazza home run at Shea Stadium with the Yankees men, all the players going down to Ground Zero. So I thought it'd be a good day to have you on. Have you always done this walk, or is this 500-mile journey something new for you?
This is a one time only. I wanted to do something special to honor my brother. He was my little brother. He was the youngest of 7. He was a very big Met fan. You should know that.
Okay.
He was just a dynamic human being. And I just look. We lost 343 firefighters. over 60 police officers, and these guys gave up their lives. Now, 2,977 lost their life, but the firefighters and first responders gave their life that day because they ran into those buildings to save people. And I just want America to make sure that they recognize that and they don't forget. At the same time, Craig, is that the Tunnel to Towers Foundation, we build specially adapted smart homes for our country's most catastrophically injured service members. We deliver Gold Star families and fallen first responder families who left young kids behind mortgage-free homes. And that's a great way that we are honoring, and you said it, not just Stephen, all those who made the ultimate sacrifice, and not just this year, but every year. Think of how many give their life for our communities and our country.
And for Evan's sake, one of the most powerful things I've ever seen was when you guys had that marching band that came through into downtown, Manhattan, and the streets parted like I've never seen before in my lifetime. To honor those we lost on 9/11. What's your plan this year for 9/11? Now, you obviously be in New York, but what do you have going on specifically on the 11th?
Well, I'll like I said, in the early morning, as the sun is rising, I'll be walking through the tunnel with my family. We'll come out the other side. A lot of other great Americans are going to join me to walk right up to Tent House, which is adjacent to Ground Zero. We're going to say a prayer and lay a wreath there. And I'm going to be with I'll be with guys from FBI, CIA, Secret Service, firefighters, police officers, everybody that lost somebody, 20 years ago, other 9/11 family members. And then later that night, there's a concert that is raising money for Tunnel to Towers Foundation, which is sold out already. And by the way, you mentioned the Yankee game. They'll be playing on September 11th.
That's right.
But and they'll be talking about Tunnel to Towers. Fox is a great friend of ours and helps raise a lot of money for us. And T2T.org if anyone wants to get involved. But I think one of the most amazing things that happened in the last couple of weeks is that when we lost those 13 great patriots, great Americans that gave up their life, so many of them was just young little kids, 20 years old. That Lynn Mara, one of the owners of Giants, is an artist, and she did these 13 portraits that are just so beautiful. I can't even tell you how beautiful they are. And she's determined to raise a lot of money for the foundation to make sure that we continue doing the work that we do. We're delivering 200 mortgage-free homes this year.
Wow.
Hold on, Craig.
That's awesome.
200 mortgage-free homes. So you do the math. You know your mortgage times 200, and that's the kind of money that we have to raise.
That's incredible.
And let me tell you, it's not enough. We need to do more, and there's a lot of families that are counting on us to do the right thing, counting on America. Go to T2T.org and join us.
You mentioned that during your walk you went to Shanksville. I went there about 13 years ago. It was before they built any kind of memorial. And how about those heroes bringing that plane down when they knew what was going on? What is that experience like going to Shanksville? Because that's another site of that horrible day that we all experienced.
I'm going to tell you, and I've had a lot of emotional moments while doing this because I'm with tens of thousands of people who love America. I went there with about 30 to 40 New York City firefighters. They were cooking in the morning at the firehouse, Shanksville Firehouse first. And then they marched up with me to the site, to Shanksville. And when we got there, I had the honor to walk to the exact crash site, impact zone, and they have a boulder there. And when I walked over to that boulder, I was just overcome with emotion. I knelt down to say a prayer, and I put my hand on the boulder, and I turned and I said, if anyone wants to join me, every firefighter either put their hands on that beautiful boulder or on each other's shoulders, and we said the Lord's Prayer, and it was teeming out of us, all the emotion, because we're thinking of those 40 great heroes, like you just said, because that was the first battle won against the war on terrorism, because they knew what that plane was going to be used for, and they took that plane down. And I'm thinking of, of course, Todd Beamer, Let's Roll, and those other great heroes. I'm thinking of what happened at the Pentagon, and I'm thinking of my brother, and these firefighters are thinking of all their friends that they lost, and I'm sure a lot of them lost family members besides, and it all just poured out of us. So anybody that has never been to Shanksville or to the Pentagon or to Ground Zero, you have to do it, because that is the best way to teach your children what happened 20 years ago.
That's the key. That's how you remember by learning about it. Because think about it, it's 20 years now. So if you're under the age of 30 or 28 years old, it's just a story. You didn't experience it. A lot of us did experience it. And that's the only way, too, by going to those locations. I totally agree
Frank,
with you.
how did you guys ultimately learn the story of what Steve did that day? You're running through the tunnel to the towers to try to help. Was that random people saw him and told the family? Like, I always wondered how you guys figured out, the final moments, if you don't mind sharing.
I don't mind sharing, and I will tell you that we were home that day. My brother was supposed to play golf with me, my brother George, my brother Russ, and he heard on the scanner, and he went back to get his gear. And we didn't know how he got there. We didn't even know if he got there. But I, deep down in my soul, knew that he did get there. So later that day, a firefighter called me up and said to me, Frank, Stephen's on the list of missing firefighters. I said, yeah, Richie, I know. I've been trying to call him. He hasn't called me back. It's, and he goes, no, Frank, there's a list. There's quite a list, and it's very bad down here. I said, yeah, Richie, I'm watching all day. I've talked to numerous firefighters. I know how bad it is. He goes, no, Frank, you don't understand how bad it is. I said, Rich, I do. And he goes, no, you don't know. Nobody's coming home. And at that moment, I realized that Stephen was definitely not going to probably come home, and we didn't know that he even got there. So there was an eyewitness that saw Stephen come to a screeching halt in his truck, his black truck, right before the mouth of the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel, jumped out, put his gear on, and ran into the tunnel. And other people that I know, family close to my family, saw Stephen run in the tunnel, and the other firefighters saw him run in the tunnel. And we know he came out the other side, and he was last seen alive on Liberty and West Street And I believe he went into the South Tower. He was never recovered. But the rest of his Squad 1 buddies all died in the South Tower. There's 11 of them, 343 firefighters in total. And you would want to fight this horrific fire and scene with the people you trained with every day.
Got it.
So that's where we figure.
Well, listen, I think what you're doing is awesome, beyond awesome. I appreciate you sharing a few moments with us today, and hopefully you'll finish this walk, feeling good about yourself physically. And I know how emotional this week is going to be for you and your family and all of us, but I just want to acknowledge what you're doing. For people that want to help out and get involved, it's T2T, so T2T.org, a fully vetted foundation that's been around for 20 years that does a lot of really amazing things for the families of those we've lost. And I appreciate you sharing a few minutes with us today. So thanks so much, Frank.
Thank you, Craig. God bless you.
Frank Siller, Tunnel to Towers Foundation. That's coming up on Saturday, of course. Many people know